Today's guest is Jonathan Silver, the CEO of Engage People. Engage People is a leading company providing loyalty technology software to big brands, retailers, who then attract customers and retain them using the tools that Engage People has built. The company is about 100 people. They've been around for 7 years. I talked to Jonathan about the early days in starting the company, how he realized that loyalty was really his calling in life, and how to discern what type of business and what type of business model is most attractive to you as an individual. We talked about what the psychology is of loyalty programs, what works, what doesn't, where the trends are in loyalty programs, who's using them, like credit card companies and airlines and others, and how to sell into banks and other technical challenges they faced along the way. This is a really dynamic, interesting conversation. I hope you enjoy. Here is Jonathan Silver. All right, Jonathan, thanks for hopping on today. I'm excited to chat with you. I was diving into Engage People, and I'd love to get the story about specifically you, how you got involved in the company, and maybe what you were most excited about when you joined and took leadership.
Didn't really join, one of the co-founders.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
That's okay. No, it's all right. It's and so for me, started out in the loyalty industry when I was 18. Just by accident. Worked in multiple companies, left my last job, went, I want to do anything in the world, but work in the loyalty space. So looked at trying to figure out, what I could do with my life, and realized this was the only thing I actually liked and enjoyed. And so started a company called MyAxs in 2008. A good time to start a company, by the way, in the middle of a recession.
Probably is.
And the whole idea was, how do we bring technology to the loyalty space to enable a better member experience? And back then, it was Canadian focused originally. Amazon was just opening up in Canada, and the loyalty industry was still doing 4 to 6 week delivery times. And so, we started to build technology that allowed us to drop ship rapidly, give just basically members more choice. More ability to use their points. In that process, we merged with 2 other companies. So we had a company called Raw, which was our technology company, and I think you've actually met with Len Cavello, who's still the CTO. Len was one of the owners of Raw, and another company called Fairlane, and those 3 companies together became Engage. And so we did that in 2010-ish, 12-ish. And so the whole genesis of Engage has always been, how do we bring technology and innovation and all around creating a better member experience inside of the loyalty space? It's been a great journey with lots of ups and downs. And we're now at the point where we are changing an industry. Yeah. Rapidly making progress and changing stuff.
So in the beginning for you, when you realized, hey, this is actually something I want to spend my time doing, when you initially thought you wanted to get as far away from it as possible, what was it that stuck with you? Like, was it, hey, I realized I'm just too good at this to not do it? Like, was it money motivated or impact or how?
It was every time we started looking at other opportunities, my head just went back, oh, well, how can we get members to be engaged better, and how can we keep them loyal to what we're trying to do? So all that training and all the work I'd done, there was just this natural inclination that with every problem, it always came down to, oh, well, how are we going to engage members in a more effective way to keep them loyal to whatever we're trying to do? And at that point, it was like, why fight it and just embrace it? And that's how we got around to it.
And what do you think is going on here? So if you think about a consumer purchasing, say, clothing from a brand, and they're purchasing a pair of shoes, they love the shoes, then they buy the shirt. The brand has some sort of loyalty program that they're implementing or offering. Is the customer, is there a certain elasticity of consumer purchasing that is caught up in the loyalty program? Like, how do you sort of think about what loyalty is effectively doing for companies?
So you have to think about different kinds of loyalty programs do different things for customers. So when you talk about a vertically integrated loyalty program as I am going to a certain retailer and I'm using their loyalty program for that, those are very much around data for the retailer and putting offers in front of a member that's going to be valuable to them. And so when you think about that, we actually get very good at understanding members' uptake and what do they respond to and using it to drive a needle. And then members get the benefit of this for relevant offers and get them to come in and spend more and be more loyal to the brand. Previous iteration, we did work for one of the largest, now the largest drugstore chain in Canada. And we could actually use the loyalty program to drive results on a quarterly basis, knowing that if we turned it up the tap higher for better offers, drive more traffic in the store and actually get to make the quarterly results for the organization. So there was that much of a response rate to the program, as well as we used the data to find offers that were relevant to a member. So going back then to manufacturers and saying, hey, I've got people who look like this. If you want them to use and try your product, give us an offer. And so the member got a benefit of, hey, I got a better deal on something. Packaged goods companies got access to members in a cost-effective way. And so that was a way in a vertically integrated world to drive value. Then you get into hospitality. And my loyalty program is very much around two things. One is rewarding people for their loyalty, and you reward them with free stays and upgrades and stuff like that. But as well as then identifying my top customers and giving them a more personalized experience. So, priority check-in, upgrade to the hotel, all that stuff. So you're creating a different kind of ecosystem. And then the third one, and this is where we're doing most of our work, is credit card loyalty programs. So how do I make sure your credit card is front of wallet? You're spending more on it. If you think about, I can use cash, and cash is dying, but I can use my debit card. I can use my credit card. How do I get you to use your credit card more? Drives a revenue stream for the financial institutions. And then how do I give a member better value for their points and a better member experience so that they keep coming back and keeping it front of the wallet? And that's what we've been focused on as an organization, which is driving the ultimate member experience. And it's about allowing you to use your points as a form of payment without disintermediating the experience. So I know I'm going on a little bit, you've got some questions, but the last point is when I give somebody cash back, it goes back into their credit card, pays down their bill, they don't think about it. When you take your points and you go and you redeem it for a TV or a trip, I will tell all my friends about it. I got this free TV from my bank, or I took my family to Florida for the week with my credit card, and I can brag about it. And so what we want to be able to do is create the most efficient, frictionless system for a member that has a tie-in between my points and my experience without that being broken up. And so I get the maximum value, and it's still giving them as much choice as they can, because everybody's has different needs and likes and wants, and they change throughout a year. And so that's what we've built at Engage.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that I imagine if you were to ask somebody, hey, would you rather have $100 or $100 worth of points that are restricted to the type of merchants that you use and maybe they expire or there's some limitation? Yeah. People, I would imagine, would say, I'll take the money. But yes. I imagine that doesn't line up. People's represented choices don't line up with their actual preferences. I'm curious what's going on there? Like, why? I'm thinking about it from my personal perspective. I'll take the 2% cash back, preferably over the hotel discounts and those sort of things. But I think I'm an anomaly there. I would imagine that most people are on the other side.
No, it's actually, and it's a conversation we have with all of our clients, which is, well, just give them the cash. And the challenge with cash is it's not sticky. So if you've got a credit card that's giving you 2% cash back and somebody comes out with a 3% cash back, you're just going to switch. The next issue is you forget about it. You never remember the cash the next day. And so really I've created a transactional engagement, not an emotional engagement. The second thing is if you take that same 2% and I can get you something that's meaningful and relevant to you, and let's start with travel, right? If I gave, you spend on your card and you get $1,000 and you say, okay, I got $1,000 off my bill and I don't really care. Or if I got you 2 tickets to the Caribbean, you'll never forget the 2 tickets to the Caribbean.
Yeah, okay.
And once you're hooked on that, now I'm getting free flights every year, right? And so people actually sit there and once they're addicted to the crack cocaine of the loyalty program, they actually sit there and they go, I'm getting something for free. And therefore I'm going to do something better than I normally would.
Right.
And I may say, I'm going to stay in a nicer room because it's free and have a better experience. And then I'm going to sit there and say, well, every year I've got to use my card enough because I now don't want to pay for that. Right? Now, we've done an integration into Amazon that allows you to redeem your points on Amazon. And I have these conversations with people where they go, I don't actually want to spend money on Amazon anymore. I just want to use my points because all the stuff I got is free. Right? And there's low guilt. And so it's very much it's not a rational, it's an emotional engagement. But that emotional engagement is better for the member because I'm getting something that's not just transactional and I have an experience out of it. And it's better for our clients because it drives stickiness, spend, front of wallet, referrals, and become member advocates.
It's interesting.
So yeah, it does work, and it's been working for hundreds of years. Yeah.
That's another thing I'm curious about is the origins of this. So it's funny to me that I would think intuitively that merchants, the actual brands that sell products, would have the greatest loyalty programs out there. Maybe the problem there is it's too fragmented. I don't want to be a member of 1,700 different loyalty programs for every coffee shop. Like you'll see them in the simplistic form, but it's amazing even hearing you describe it. Like credit cards seem to be the elephant in the room when it comes to this.
Yeah, so airlines and hospitality are the two, and credit cards. Those are the big ones. When you think about the loyalty program for a retailer, it's a frequency issue. So gas and groceries, drug, yes. Especially on drug, I have packaged goods companies, so I actually have a vertical pipeline as well as a frequency of purchase. The problem is if you're going to go to a retailer to buy shoes, how often are you doing that? You're not doing it every day. You're not doing it every week. And so it's hard to build an emotional engagement with somebody who's coming in once every 3 months or 6 months or a year, right? And that's why the most successful ones are the ones where there's a high frequency.
Would you also add a high level of commodity? So like when I'm thinking about gasoline or airline travel or credit cards, like these things in my mind, whether I fly Alaska or Southwest or use my Fidelity Visa or like Amex, like to me, they kind of are almost exactly the same experience. And therefore I think loyalty can be useful to stand out. Is that maybe part of it?
Yeah, so you can say a flight's a flight, but where airlines have done an incredible job is around status. So that if you fly United and you become, an elite member on United, 1K, whatever it's called, you get special preferential treatment. And then people will do everything in their power to keep that status. So in Canada, Aeroplan's the big program. And we've seen data where people at around about December take a couple of extra flights, pre-COVID, just to go and make sure they got enough to get status for the following year to qualify. So if you think about somebody who will go to Chicago from Toronto and back in an afternoon just to get enough miles or enough flights to keep their status for the next year.
Wow.
Yeah, and then when we've even seen with gas stations with their programs, and I'll give another Canadian example. It's a very successful one here, where we've got data of people doing 2 left-hand turns to get to a gas station versus the one that's right next to them because of the loyalty points. and the one that was right on the right hand side of their car didn't. So I actually went left to the other side of the road because they gave me my points.
Yeah,
which will fly into a couple of cents off a gallon, right? And so it does work. There is value to a member and there's value to the program.
What do you think about this? One thought I had around this when I was one of my first companies I built was a point of sale company. So we built an iPad based point of sale software for small clothing stores and small like bike shops and that sort of thing. We raised some money and ended up selling it to BigCommerce. And throughout that journey, I dove deep into loyalty because we had to build out our own like loyalty program for the merchants. And I remember at the time there was it was like peak. I was in San Francisco and there was a bunch of companies raising money on like loyalty cards, like what was the company, Perk or something? They would have, they raised a bunch of money. They have a little, mobile scanner device that they put in coffee shops, and there would be, companies that have a different spin on it. One that was doing payments based out of Boston that I'm just forgetting the name of, but their whole premise, really, the pitch was, when they're selling these payment processors, it's the loyalty program baked on top of it. So you can check in at the location. One thing I've thought about, I'm curious to hear your reaction to it, is if in addition to people feeling like they love the freeness, so something that's $1 that's free is worth, they're willing to drive $2 worth of gas to get $1 for free. And I think there's something to that. I also think it might be the feeling of being part of something, to have some identity associated with it. Like, I am part of this Delta Premier Club. Like, oh, you're also part of it. Like, I now know who I am. I now have a greater sense of identity. And that brings people a real sense of maybe peace or confidence or
arrogance.
Arrogance,
if you think about, let's just do this couple of things. If you think about airlines, and they will give you a luggage tag that has your status, right? And so mine says super elite, therefore I'm super cool. Yours only says elite, so you're only quasi cool.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a little bit of that, and there's a little bit of camaraderie as well. So if you get all of that, we are social beings, and creating a network is really important. When you spoke about all of this overlaying technology, and it's easy for a coffee shop to run a loyalty program, right? The tech is not a proper challenge like it used to be. The challenge is the relevancy for a customer that's going to drive incremental sales. And what you tend to have in that world is, I'm just rewarding the people who come every day anyway.
Right.
Someone who's done a really good job with that, if you look at Starbucks. So they, you get your stars for coming in every day. But then they have these promos which say, and they're very targeted, where they'll say things like, you ordered this once, you know what? I'm going to get you to come and get a breakfast sandwich every day this week, or twice this week. And they've done a very good job of understanding what their clients are doing and then incenting them to change their behavior to spend more, right? With value proposition back to the member.
Interesting. So the example there, Starbucks says, hey, you've ordered a medium latte before. What would they do? They'd say, here's a free.
So they'd say, you come in every day and you order a latte, right? But one day you came in and ordered a breakfast sandwich. I go, well, hold on. You've done it once. I'm assuming you've enjoyed it. So I'll put a promo in front of you that says, hey, Mike, if you order 2 breakfast sandwiches next week, I'll give you 50 stars. And if you do 3, I'll give you 100 stars. Now, if I can make that part of your routine, I've got you.
Gotcha.
And they've done an incredibly good job with, if you take 10 of your friends and compare your offers, they're all very personalized, right? And so they've done a really good job with that. Now, they're a massive company with tons of resources to do this. For smaller coffee shops, it's, our view is a little bit different, which is, if you're a neighborhood coffee shop, you're going to get the people in your neighborhood anyway. What I'm going to try and do is give you access to millions of other customers that you wouldn't have normal to, and get them to spend more with you, because I'm going to do it for free. So you're going to walk into the coffee shop, you're going to tap your credit card, and it's going to say, hey, do you want to use your points for this? You go, oh, that's cool. Right? Now I got a reason to switch, right? Because I'm doing points, and my credit card points are free.
Yeah.
So and I'm going to spend more because it's free.
Yeah.
And so it's very much around what are the behaviors we're trying to drive as the retailer in that case, and then how can we help you get there in a more cost-effective way, right?
Interesting. So in the case of, say, a credit card, they want you to spend more on their credit card, and they are willing to give away some percentage, maybe 1.5%, 2% on either points or direct cashback, but they have that margin to play with. Is that? Do you know what percentage of people opt into those programs? Is that like just available for everyone, or do you have to do some opt-in?
I don't know. Free cards are still the largest. Cashback is second. Points are the third.
What's free card?
But the points, nothing. It's just a vanilla card. Here's my card. I don't pay a fee on it. I don't get any benefit.
Got it.
But from the members who spend the most are the ones with the points cards.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the members who, if you're putting $300 a month on your card, $3 of points or the $3 of cashback, not going to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're putting $8,000 on your card, well, that means I got $1,000 worth of value at the end of the year, and now that's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more people spend on their card, the more we see them moving to points-based cards with a fee, and then the financial institutions are happy to increase the value of the points to those members because they are spending a lot and they're high-value members and high wealth. So you do see better programs targeted at people who use their card more.
Yeah. What do you think about this? I've talked to a lot of people on crypto and payments and things, and I'll occasionally come across people who are going directly at the Visa, MasterCard, credit card networks, specifically trying to target the interchange rate and disrupt that market. Very, very hard, obviously, because they have such deep penetration across the world. Yeah. Everyone's familiar with them. They have the cards distributed out there. The network is really, really fast. So it's not like there's an obvious problem. And so these businesses, really specifically in crypto, target the interchange. They're all about saying the average merchant is paying 3%, 3.5%, something like that. 2.5% to these credit card companies. So, and the value proposition is you get more sales than you would if you just accepted cash or debit. And a majority of that goes back, or a lot of that goes back to the customer. And then there's also costs associated with chargebacks. Am I painting the model right here? Like, is there other?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, right? Crypto is going. It's going to be huge. We just don't know what it's going to look like, right? And a lot of people are like, "Hey, it's down, whatever, 800,000% this year." But with everything, there's disruption, and don't know who's going to stick around. But a disparate payment system with another network rivaling Visa and MasterCard is coming. The challenge today is speed of processing, right? You're processing a Visa transaction in 500 milliseconds. You're not doing that on crypto. You also have an unstable environment. So when crypto, if you're a U.S. citizen, my U.S. dollar, no matter what happens in the exchange rate to the euro, unless I'm traveling, I don't really care. I walk into a store, that's a buck, I have a buck, I pay a buck. End of story. When crypto is going up, if I buy something with my crypto today and tomorrow it's up 20%, well, I used it today, so I've lost 20% of my value. And when it's going down, I really don't want to spend it because I've lost all this, paper money.
Well, assume a stable coin. Assume a US dollar.
Even stable coins haven't been stable, right? Like right now, they're not stable. And so, so you've got those challenges. It's coming. Our view is I'm pretty happy to take your points and let you fund your crypto wallet out of it. I'm really happy to take your crypto. So, we have a set of APIs that just allow you to complete a transaction. So we could take anyone's cryptocurrency and use it to redeem at any of our participating retailers, and then we just settle with the retailer in the background. We're not there yet from a consumer adoption. people are still treating it like an investment or my nest egg for the future, and dealing with the tax issue from last year when I may have cashed in my crypto and now realized it's you got to pay tax on that thing and it's down in the toilet, and and so we'll see how it nets out. We are keeping a close eye on it. We're working closely with some of the exchanges and our clients on how do we enable crypto. I never really want to be the first. I do want to just be a part of the winning team, right? So let's just and so we're building our rails. It's going to be interesting. And then here's the big unknown still is, do the Federal Reserves start cracking down?
Yeah. How would that look? Like if they did cracking down, would they crack down on the merchants saying it's illegal to accept?
On the exchanges, right? Like, at some point I'm going to treat you like a public company or something. We don't know. They're going to put some regulations on it. I'm not going to allow you to just free flow a currency. It's an interesting thing because as much as people, want to have an alternative currency, right now, commerce around the world runs on the back of a US dollar, right? And it is the base currency of the world. And it's been this way since, World War II. Yeah. And the world's done really well of that, right?
The US in particular.
The whole world,
yeah.
Had a stable currency, right? And, so I grew up in South Africa and now live in Canada, but our success is based on the fact that the US dollar has been, the US dollar and the US Navy has kept the world safe and commerce flowing. When those two get disrupted, no one knows what's going to happen. So there's a lot of risk and change that's coming. And, if you think back to the .com era, people made fun of all these retailers, e-commerce is not going to survive. And then when it crashed, everybody went, I told you so. And out of the, I wouldn't say the ashes because Amazon was big before that. You got the largest company in the world that came out of that. And so something will come out of crypto, and we're not sure what it'll be, but it will be fun and it will be exciting and we'll change stuff, right? Yeah.
And you feel pretty confident it's just a matter of time before Visa, MasterCard get pretty seriously disrupted? I mean, it's, decades, but...
I don't know if they'll be seriously disrupted because there are 330 million Americans who use a US dollar. How many are going to use Bitcoin or Ethereum? It's going to be 5 million, 10 million. Right? And it's not going to be 300 million.
Yeah.
Right. So the US dollar is not going anywhere. Right.
I think it would have to be the pegged cryptos. Like USDC is a government regulated stablecoin.
Yep.
And I mean, to me, that feels, I'd rather have that than have cash in my hand than.
Sure. But what's the difference between that and just holding dollars then? In theory, right? I could use that and then not have to pay the 2% on the transaction to a merchant. Right. So that's the merchant now, not you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And debit is that, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Pay 25 cents on a debit, right?
But things still. Why don't merchants charge less for using different forms of payment? Like occasionally, I see that at gas stations, but I don't see everything marked down on debit or cash.
A lot of their Visa and MasterCard processing agreements don't allow.
Oh wow, that's devilish.
Right? If I'm Visa and MasterCard, I'm going to turn around and go, "You can't do that."
Wow.
Right.
Oh man,
I'm providing you a service. Now, as much as, and then, as a merchant, yes, I know you're paying, 1 to 2%, whatever the amount is, but I get paid the next day in my bank account. I don't worry about fraud. It's safe, it's secure, it's ubiquitous. I don't have to reconcile cash at the end of the day. It is cheaper than cash, not cheaper than debit. But people don't realize that when you walk in and pay cash, that merchant has costs associated with it. Hey, they have theft and fraud. I have to reconcile it. I got to go to the bank and deposit it.
What does that come out
It's
to?
a pain.
Do you know what the consensus is on, like, is it a 3% average?
I don't know. I used to know this, and I was actually just thinking, I was trying to figure out if I have it. I have it somewhere in here, but somewhere I'd read a study on what cash actually costs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, so I remember talking at a conference a couple of years ago. It's hard to track time. So 2 or 3 years before COVID, right? Where, we were talking about Apple Pay and Samsung Pay. And it was a credit card conference, and they were all like, yeah, no one's going to use it. Right? And now, I don't know about you, but don't really pull my credit card out often anymore. I use my phone as my main form of payment. And so I don't think everyone's going to be caught flat-footed again. You're already seeing Visa and MasterCard issue crypto-based credit cards. Instead of getting your 2% cash back, I'm getting back coins in some form. So they are very much involved in this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not worried about that. They'll figure it out.
When Apple Pay and Samsung Pay grew so much as they did, who loses? Like, who did they disrupt? Because you're still using credit cards, still using the same terminal, merchant processor.
The credit card companies got a little bit less out of it because Apple Pay and Samsung Pay took a fee.
Got it.
But not a major amount. And there's still advantages on it. Your card gets tokenized. And so the number being passed to the merchant isn't your actual credit card number. It's a tokenized number. So fraud is lower fraud rates on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be non-existent compared. I mean, if you picture a credit card in your hand versus in your cell phone, like it's so easy to take a picture and you have the card number, but how are you ever going to get that from someone's phone? It must be orders of magnitude better.
Yeah, fraud. The frauds just do it differently today.
Yeah.
They're hacking systems. They're getting card numbers. It's not. Loyalty fraud, credit card fraud is a massive issue.
Really? Even with Apple Pay?
Yeah, massive. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
One. But I don't know if the fraud, there's minor fraud. Someone steals your credit card, right? There's the next kind of level where somebody's put a reader in a gas station or something and they're cloning your card. But then the big fraud is somebody hacks the system and all the credit cards are made available on the web and people are pounding the cards and taking millions, right? That's the bigger challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chip and pin helps a lot with that as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And does that happen on the loyalty side as well? Can you have like loyalty theft or, really?
Loyalty fraud is a massive issue.
So what's a typical loyalty fraud scam?
So most people don't know their point balance. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple. Some people, account takeover, just clear out your points. Right? We see that. We also see people a little bit smarter. They go and they just take a few points out of millions of accounts.
How would they?
And nobody really knows.
And so they figured out a hack on the merchant side to get in there?
Yeah. And it's a game of whack-a-mole, right? Mm-hmm. And so now, one thing about banks, everyone complains that they're big and slow. But when they put their force behind something, they put their force behind it, right? And so I'd say, 30% of all the conversations we have with our banking clients is around fraud. How do we, what do we monitor? And their fraud monitoring tools are unbelievable. And it's a game of whack-a-mole, right? They close something, fraudsters pop up somewhere else, and they keep going.
Why would the banks be involved? Are the banks specifically involved in the loyalty fraud, or just some kind
on their side?
Okay.
On their credit card loyalty fraud, right?
Yeah. Interesting.
But they're good at it. But it's like I said, it's a game of.
And the best case scenario for a hacker is going to be, I'm going to use your points and ship myself a TV. Like, this is the kind of stuff where that would be an exploit or a hack.
Yeah, but not just that. I bought $1 million worth of TVs from a whole bunch of places, sent it to a warehouse, pulled them out, shipped them off, and they were gone. Right?
Oh man, I imagine that has happened.
Or one of the when we talk to our banking clients about converting points into crypto, that's their big fear. Right? right? I'm going to drain a whole bunch of people's accounts. I'm going to get into crypto coins and I can't find it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem immediately beneficial why crypto would replace or displace loyalty points, given that the whole concept is they're not transmissible to other accounts. Like I can't move my Southwest Airline points into Delta by design.
No, but if I can move them into crypto.
Yeah.
So I've moved my Southwest points in. Someone hacks an account. I move all my Southwest points into Ethereum or Bitcoin, and now they're gone.
Yeah, I just can't see these merchants doing that or building it that way, because there's no advantage. There's only disadvantage. If they were willing to do that, they would be willing to say, "Oh, trade your Southwest points for money, or trade it for anything." But that kind of defeats the purpose.
They don't want.
No, they don't want it.
Yeah, they don't want that, right? Now, some of our banking clients are interested in that allowing you to take a small portion of your points into a crypto wallet, and it's just about, hey, that's what you want as a consumer. You're going to redeem it for an Apple gift card. Crypto wallet's great. Go play, right?
It's interesting.
So we're seeing a lot of that.
And how does from a business standpoint, how does Engage people strategically get into a bank and offer a service? I'm thinking, in my experience, Chase Bank, they have the loyalty points for credit cards I'm using. Maybe there's loyalty points for the checking account. I'm not sure, but I would imagine that must be their custom-built software. Are they outsourcing that to?
So So look, every bank's different, and there are different components to it. And so in our world, we've got two products. We have a loyalty management software platform called Podium that manages. So you mentioned Chase; they're not a client of ours, but if you're with Acme Bank and you log onto their system, you're actually hitting our platform. So all of the marketing, the communications, the offers come from us. In some cases we're the points bank, some cases we're not. So it is an end-to-end solution. Some do it on their own. Most actually outsource that. The other side is our payment network, where we're integrating into all of these retail partners. And so that the bank integrates into us, and every time we add a retail partner, their members can now redeem at that retailer and use their points in real time. For us, that is a major differentiator in the marketplace. Now, the big guys have done some of the direct relationships we've done. So, banks 6 and smaller are who our target clients are, and we're signing them up rapidly. But the advantage for them is every one of our clients can go do a direct integration with every one of our partners, but they'll end up doing 40 direct integrations. Yeah. With us, they do one into us. We do all the settlement and the management and the support. And as we bring on a partner, they just get that. They just say yes or no and take that partner.
That makes perfect sense.
And, and for our partner, our network right now has $4 or $5 billion worth of points being redeemed every year. So as a partner, you get access to that point base. And that, by the way, that's growing 30-40% a year. So you have access to that, one integration into Engage, and you get all of our clients.
What's growing 40% per year? The number of retailers that are on?
The number of points we have available in our clients' annual redemption pool.
Oh, got it.
As we add clients, that pool's growing, right? And so, we're seeing it's a product that it was impossible to build. Because we have a concept like that, and you say, "Well, I don't have any clients, and I don't have any retailers. We need to get the first ones on board, right?" But now we're at the point where, we have sufficient banks on board that were very interesting to retailers, and as we're adding more and more retailers, we're getting more banks.
So, how did you build it? Did you just build it from scratch and then start off with coffee shops, or just work your way up the sophistication of businesses?
No, we actually went the other way. So we built a interim piece of technology that was a browser extension that allowed you to use your points on any retailer as long as you had a browser extension downloaded. A little bit clunky, but it allowed us to get our first clients on board. And then we managed to piss off the largest e-commerce retailer on the planet and got into negotiations with them, and they became our first anchor partner.
Amazon?
It wasn't a quick negotiation. I mean, it's a tough negotiation with them. And so, once we had Amazon on board, then, we're more interesting now to clients. We got more clients on board, and we got all the clients. Now we've added, so we're launching PayPal this week, next week. And then we've got, 20 other retailers coming on board in the next 9 to 12 months.
And so this means that when someone accumulates points on like a credit card, the bank would at least have the option to offer that retailer, Amazon or PayPal, as a method of receiving value, like converting your points into Amazon gift cards?
Of actually using your points as a form of payment on checkout. So what's different about this? Look, and Amazon's done direct integrations with Chase and Amex and Citi and a couple of others, right? So our experience is no different to that. And what happens is you go to pay, and you pick your credit card, and it'll say, "Hey, Mike, you have so many points. Do you want to apply for this transaction?" You don't have to redeem for a gift card. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to start on the bank side. You go straight into Amazon.
Got it.
Right? We're integrating into some POS terminals. So, by this time next year, when you're in an airport and you go and you tap your card to pay for the $20 bottle of water, it'll say, "Hey, Mike, you want to use your points for that?"
Interesting. I wouldn't have necessarily thought that the loyalty world would be growing. I kind of would think of it intuitively as an industry that launches, it delivers the loyalty programs, and then it kind of converges. But I saw in the show notes, you guys grew 33% last year. What kind of contributes to the growth of maybe the industry, or specifically what you guys are doing within it?
So the industry is growing on its own. People are realizing the value of the loyalty program and how to monetize it and how to actually make it effective. So, the loyalty industry is growing, cumulative growth, in the 18 to 20% range on its own. As technologies got better, it's become easier for me to create loyalty, targeted credit cards that are interesting to a specific demographic and to do it cost effectively. So before, you had to be one of the big banks and launch a program. We met some guys recently who just launched a credit card that all the participating retailers where you can redeem your points are female-owned small businesses. And so you earn points, and that's where you can redeem it. And it's easy for them to do because the technology is much better. So now that has value to people who have an affinity to that solution. And so it's become a lot quicker and easier to create segmented cards targeted at specific demographics or specific segments. And so that's helped grow it. When you get into the hospitality, they've seen the value of their loyal customers and what a loyal customer is worth versus just a transitional customer. So it's growing everywhere. Our growth is being driven by this network. So the fact that we're right now the only network in the marketplace, and has allowed us to acquire and expand rapidly into the U.S.
The network of retail APIs built in.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, and so so that part of the business is growing 75% a year.
Is that a technological, structural, operational, strategic advantage? I mean, it seems kind of when you explain the strategy, it's like, well, that is a great strategy. It would seem that would be what other companies would think too. Is it more in executing it, or like business development, or what do you think?
It's everything, right? It's really hard to get going.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? Who's going to be your first anchor retailer or your first anchor client, right? And by the way, that was the hardest thing for us. This wasn't a new idea.
The Chrome extension to Amazon was the kind of hack on that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a really good technology team, and they figured out how to do it. And so I got to give those guys credit for that. So that's the first part. The other barrier is, every time we integrate into a retailer, it's hard for that retailer to integrate into another customer because it slows down the checkout process. And so, we're getting good traction because of that. And for our clients, we have a bit of a first mover advantage. So we have, it's a big start. We have a bit of a first mover advantage. Our tech is good. solid strategy, but it takes a massive investment. That's the other thing. It costs us, almost $1 million to bring on a retailer. And so,
wow, really?
It's not.
And $1 million to bring on a retailer. So that means you have to do a bunch of technical work to integrate into their database. Is that, or like
into their checkout process?
Checkout process, yeah.
So because we're directly into their checkout process, there's a lot of work on their side, a lot of work on our side. The other thing, we have to pay them every day. So we've got to set up all the settlements and all the finance and all the reconciliation and all the security. It's not a light lift.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like it. When you integrate with a merchant, with a retailer, is it often through a back end framework like Shopify or Magento e-commerce, or are they generally on their own, or does it matter?
It's kind of complicated and IP based. That's our intellectual property stuff, so we don't really talk about how. We figured out we don't want the rest of the world to figure it out already.
Yeah, sure.
And there was a lot of stops and starts till we got it right, but it's complicated around what kind of loyalty programs. We're also not right now, we're just doing financial institution credit cards, but we're launching our non-FI based solution early next year as well.
What's FI?
So it's a whole nother level. So non-financial institution.
Got it.
The ability to use your airline points or even your employee recognition points and identifying who you are at checkout. So there, we got this long roadmap that we're rapidly running down, but it's hard. Like it's.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say about the guys at our team, my tech team. They like doing hard stuff, and if they didn't, they wouldn't be engaged because we do hard stuff.
Yeah. It sounds like. I mean, going into this conversation, I didn't think about how technically difficult it would be to integrate into all these custom merchant checkout flows, but given that. Yep. The checkout process has to be like the most important page on any e-commerce site. And if you guys are selling it to banks or large companies, it wouldn't be banks, but the merchants, I could see how you can budget $1 million per integration, which is mind blowing, but reasonable.
Yeah. But it's, good ROI for us, good ROI for our clients, and good ROI for the retailer. Yeah. So it makes sense.
And so how is the revenue model work for Engage? Is it percentage of flow or?
So we kind of think of us as a payment processor, right? So we get an interchange fee, but it's smaller than what they're paying Visa, MasterCard on the back end. And then we get a fee from our clients.
And the clients would be the banks, right. Credit cards. And
we do. There's a lot more work that we do around tier 2 support, right? Fraud alerts, checking through stuff. So there is an infrastructure around it as well, beyond just being the rails in the middle.
And is each one of these pretty customized, where it's like you have a team, relationship managers, and sort of custom integration and fraud, or is it?
No. Yeah. No, we've got it down to a playbook. Standard APIs. There's just a lot of work to get it done, right? And think about info security, payments, all of these. So it's a lot of project management and a lot of infosec and operational stuff, and then coding around some APIs. But
yeah. And how much have you guys raised? Or like, where is the company now? I just on LinkedIn, there's around 100 employees, but other than that, is it outside funding?
We're 130 employees.
Yeah.
We are funded by a private equity company called Lovell Minnick out of Philadelphia, New York, and LA. Great partners. And so they've been, this is a long, hard journey, and they've been incredibly supportive of it. I think I'm one of the few people who really likes their private equity partners.
Why is that? Or is it just private equity generally is not a cohesive thing?
I don't know. I guess, some of my friends can't stand theirs, but I got to say, look, I have no other firsthand experience, but with my guys, and they've been an unbelievable partner for us, and we wouldn't have got there without their support. And continued support.
Why go that route? So you started the company a while ago. You've been running this for a long time. When you did the deal with PE, was it a debate over whether to go venture capital or continue to run cash flow positive? I'm curious, like what plays into it?
So we couldn't have done this without them.
Without,
right? We couldn't have built this network. We couldn't have built the network out.
Was it the money, or was there some other value that they offered?
They actually, I think I don't know. I think we went into it thinking, oh, we just need the capital. Everything else, we know everything else. They have been unbelievably valuable.
Really?
Beyond just the capital. Yeah. Even, we wanted an independent chair for the company. And so they found, so the chairperson of the company is a lady named Valerie Keaton. She was the ex-CEO of Barclaycard on a global basis. And the value she's brought to the company is immense, right? Like and even for me, it's my own personal development. She's been an unbelievable mentor for me. And you don't think about those things when you're starting the journey. I think I hope I'm a very different CEO today than I was 8-9 years ago. And I give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
Both Lavelle Minnick and Val. The decision we actually had to make was we had a really good lifestyle business. Right? We were making money, we were growing, and we have an opportunity to create a legacy for everybody. So look, we will be successful at this. So when we're successful, we'll be able to look back and go, we built that. And that's what drove it, right? We couldn't have done it without their support.
Interesting. And when you guys came together, started having this conversation, was it led by them on this outreach to companies to do deals and roll-ups, or was it on your side to say, hey, we consciously want to decide to scale this out of cash flow?
It was on our side. Yeah. We hired a banker. We met 50 plus private equity.
Interesting.
And there were two of us who went into the meetings, and we walked out of the Lavelle Minnick meeting and said, okay, that's the guys we want to do it.
Okay. Well, next question, obviously, is what stands out? Yeah. So you go through this process. And by the way, I think this is super interesting because a lot of people are in this position where they're running businesses that might be doing I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 10 million in top level revenue per year. And they're thinking about, okay, should I try and, really the three decisions are, do you go PE? Do you go VC? Do you try to sell? And I guess you could just stay cash flow business, cash flow positive.
Yeah. Look, so whether you go PE or VC depends on the stage and the size, right? So just think about it as raising capital, right? There's a time when you need to sell because you need other people. There's an interesting transition, which is as we went from 12 people to 130, some of the people who started the journey with us didn't finish it because it's a very different organization. How you work, how you manage, how you operate. With 12 people, you're sitting in a room and you want something, you pop your head up, right? We've got 130 people. We've got 20-something people in an office in Italy. It's a whole, and then our clients have got bigger. So there's a PCR certification and SOC 2 and SAC-D and a whole bunch of other acronyms. And so everything gets a lot more complicated, right? And so there's a natural transition of people. And some people turn around and go, I don't want to do that, and they sell, right? Which makes sense. From the lifestyle versus what we're doing is a big decision. But I think I would have hated it if we had this idea and somebody else did it. So, right? And I think that would have driven me nuts.
Yeah. And specifically the idea being this integration with all the retailers and then plug and play model into the merchants or into the banks. Yeah.
The Access Plus network, we call it. Yeah.
And you needed capital to do that. Immense,
right? If you think about the cost of each integration and the years it took to get the first retailer on board.
Yeah, true. How much did you raise from them, or was it like a single deal?
We don't disclose that. It's Lavelle Minnick doesn't disclose that stuff.
Gotcha. But I'm guessing on the order of over 20 million because it must be if it's $1 million per integration.
What's
the no, I'm not. You don't have to say it. What's the thing that you started to realize in the conversations with different PE firms that stood out I mean, were they saying no? First of all, it's a good reason to not work with someone as they refuse to work with you. But were the terms? I mean, were they just overly aggressive on terms? Some of the other firms?
No, they actually. So Level Minute didn't have the highest valuation of everyone we met. The two partners we met at the time, and then we met the owners, like the founding partners. They were good people, and they were people first, right? And you've seen it as we've gone through the process. They'll genuinely care, right? And there's a huge difference between I'm just going to give you money and you're going to deliver to a number, and if you don't, I'm going to throw these bodies at you. They actually genuinely care about our success as well. And that it was hard to see, but you kind of just felt it.
Yeah.
And I remember the guys who had the highest valuation. I walked out of the meeting and I'm like, yeah, significantly better deal financially for us, but I didn't like it. And my partner looked at me and goes, yeah, I don't like it either.
It's interesting.
And it was just, you could just have a feel. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like it was just a feel, right? And this is all about people at the end of the day, right?
God, that's so interesting because I can't imagine you're that unique. You know, they go into the deal. Other people probably have a similar-ish type reaction to people. I would believe. Yeah, that's interesting. I think of PE versus VC is especially in the later rounds as being the intention of the capital, and usually the degree at which the firm would be involved. So like I think of a classic VC deal as, hey, we'll give you $30 million at a $150 million valuation. We're going to put somebody on the board. Maybe we'll have some liquidation preferences. But other than that, like have fun, guys, send us quarterly updates and we'll do like board meetings. Whereas I think of PE, private equity, as being, hey, we see your cash flow business. We know you're not going to grow 100x, but we'll give you $30 million. We're going to join the team, own 51%. And, you know, manage this with our guys. And I mean, is that not how you?
I don't know. I don't have enough experience outside of my.
Sure, fair. That's fair.
Right? So sample size of one, right? It was more around. So Level Minute is the way I look at it is VCs take 10 bets and expecting one home run,
right,
one double, and 8 strikeouts. Private equity is I took 10 bets and I'm expecting 9 doubles and a home run, maybe, right? But they're not fire and forget. They're longer cycles. They're more involved because they expect a better return. They're investing in growth and not in concept. And their involvement, I think, is very much the DNA of each private equity firm, right? Yeah. And look, every pitch is the same. We're different. We're not like the other guys. Everyone starts with every pitch.
I love it.
We're not like the other guys. Yeah. But, you look for the signs, right? And we've always looked for people who focused on our success as well as theirs. Right? And defined our success not financial. Right? Our success is both financial and career development and achievement. And beyond just the, hey, you built a company, go sell it, go sit on the beach, right? It's about our success and as people. And so there's a lot of, that's what stood out.
Yeah, a lot of pieces to it, a lot of things to consider. Interesting. How about online? We only got a few minutes left. Are you writing personally or are you blogging? Have you done podcasts before? What do you think about?
Yeah, we do. Not many. Like we do a lot of interviews and talk at events. We are 20 hours a day working on this stuff. We got a short window. It's haven't had time to breathe. And then with COVID, you lost the flight downtime, right? So even my ability to sit on a plane for 2 hours and actually do some work disappeared for the last couple of years.
Is that not advantageous because you now don't have to travel to do deals, so you get all the time back that you would have been traveling?
Yeah, you don't get the time back. The time just gets filled elsewhere. What you don't have is the downtime, right? you think about my day starts, whatever it is, 7:30 in the morning in front of a computer.
Yeah, schedule that in, man.
On the screen.
Just schedule. Put on like 2 hours of like virtual travel time.
The problem is actually, it's interesting because I talk to other CEOs about this, and everyone's got the same issue. Their staff all have the same issue. You used to have a commute, whether it was 15 minutes, an hour, it doesn't make a difference, where I transitioned from home person to work person and had my decompression and compression time. Now I actually went to a room, had 30 seconds, finished work, and went and had my family, and I didn't get that transition, right? And it's we're still work from home, and all our employees want to be work from home, but I encourage them to come in occasionally just for that. And to see each other, right? But it's you
know what I do? I find it really helpful because I have a home office and have the same situation, and used to go into an office. Is to have a distinct time of 10 minutes of meditation after the day. And I find like when I'm done with this conversation, I'm like, I got all these ideas. I'm going to record the intro. Like I'm writing down things I learned, the show notes, and then my mind is spinning throughout the day, and then I'm working on the next thing. And I find meditation is a useful practice to just witness what you're thinking about and becoming more aware of your thoughts and more aware of everything. And then because you're looking at a screen, I'm looking at a screen, we're thinking about very abstract concepts of, like integrations with technologies into retailers and how the whole thing works. Our minds are in the cloud. And when you come back to life in your personal world or your family, you want to be in the present moment. Like, oh, here's ice cream. So I find that that's a really helpful calibration tool.
Yeah. So for me, it's the morning workout and always ends with 10-15 minutes of stretching. And with yoga or stretching, it's just that it's quiet, got my headphones on, and it lets me unwind. And then, in the evening, there's that 9:30, 10 p.m. you start to shut down, and I find some time, make sure make sure my wife hasn't upgraded yet or something like that, and traded me in for a younger model. But, so it's been hard. I'm in the office today, but I'm coming in once, maybe twice a week, just for a change of scenery.
Yeah.
And now starting to travel again for work, right? So it's starting. I'm going to go see my Italian office for the first time in 3 years, right? Like,
nice.
We have employees there. Employees haven't seen it.
What city in Italy?
It's a long time. A small town called Perugia.
Perugia, okay.
It's northeast of
nice.
Rome. And look, it's important because they're key employees, and you need the bonds, and I chat to them on a regular basis, but it's not the same, right? And starting, client meetings coming up. So it's, I think we're going to get to a hybrid where we'll see clients at events and for big meetings, but I'm not flying to New York for a meeting.
No, good, man. That's how it should be. It seems like such a unnecessary. Especially now, especially when we're going to have like the Oculus Rift. You just put on the glasses, and then you're like, we're in the same room. It's going to be an overachieving movement to go in person. But Jonathan, I'll let you run, man. This has been a lot of fun. Congrats on all the progress with the business, and hope you guys
I appreciate the opportunity.
keep crushing it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.